are checking out the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, Alfa's answer to the BMW M3 and Mercedes C63 AMG. Now, after driving the Alfa 4C and being blown away by its driving dynamics, sounds, and looks, I've got high hopes for their new track-focused sports sedan. Is it as good as its German rivals? Today, we're going to find out just that. Let's take a look at the styling, shall we? While BMW and Mercedes have dominated the aggressive sports car styling, the Giulia gives them a run for its money. Let's start with the three uniquely shaped air intakes in the front fascia. Completely dominates the front of the car. It almost looks like 3 points of a four-leaf clover. Now below that, we've got a carbon fiber front splitter. But the special part is it's actually active. Now, Alfa claims this is the only sports sedan with an active aero front splitter that actually drops down automatically when the Giulia needs more downforce. At its top speed, the Giulia produces 220 additional pounds of downforce just from that front splitter. Pretty cool. Even the shape of the headlights are unique. You can tell that Alfa didn't want the Giulia to be anything resembling ordinary. Come around to the side of the Quadrifoglio and things get even more interesting. One, we have fender vents that appear to be functional on one side, but on this side, it doesn't really look like air could go anywhere at all. But let's go down to the front brakes, shall we? Standard, we have 4-piston, 14.2-inch discs from Brembo. Now you can upgrade if you want your car to be even more capable on the track and suffer from less brake fade for $8,000 to carbon ceramic brakes. In my opinion, not really necessary, but if you choose to do so, that is an option. But most notably is this four-leaf clover. Why do we have a four-leaf clover on the side of the Quadrifoglio? Well, interestingly enough, the presence of a four-leaf clover on the side of an Alfa dates back to 1923. One of the members of Alfa's original racing team, Ugo Savocchi, decided to paint a four-leaf clover with a square around it on the side of his race car after a string of second-place finishes. He wanted to break up the bad luck and finally finish in first. Now, wearing that Quadrifoglio, he actually took first place at the Targa Florio. Crazy enough, the square that surrounded the Quadrifoglio logo, 1 point for each member on Alfa's original racing team, one of which you might know, Enzo Ferrari. Well, tragically, when he was testing a race car later that year that ironically didn't have a four-leaf clover on it, Ugo died in a fatal accident. After his death, Alfa commemorated Ugo by placing the four-leaf clover Quadrifoglio logo on its highest-end sports cars. Although instead of a square behind the logo, they made it a triangle to acknowledge his death. Around back, the Quadrifoglio is significantly more aggressive than the M3 or the C63. We have this lovely deck lid mounted carbon fiber rear spoiler, and below that, one of the most menacing, aggressive rear diffusers ever to be fitted on a production sedan. And in between that is one of the most gorgeously oriented quad-tipped chrome exhausts I've ever seen that also produces incredible noises. Speaking of noises, what even powers the Quadrifoglio? Let's go check it out. Under the hood of the Quadrifoglio is a 2.9-liter twin-turbocharged V6. It's got a smaller displacement than the M3 or the C63, yet it makes more power than both, especially the M3. Even in its competition form, this makes significantly more power. 505 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque, to be exact. Now, the normal C63 AMG makes just 469 horsepower. In S-trim, it makes 503, still less than the Quadrifoglio. Take that, Germany. The engine also produces a much lovelier exhaust note than the M3. Let's go ahead and hop in, show you the interior, and then take it for a drive. Before we hop in the front seat, let's talk about space in the rear. I'm sitting behind an occupant that would be about 6 feet tall, and I've got plenty of legroom. Headroom is really good as well. Overall, honestly impressed with the amount of space in the back of the Quadrifoglio. Let's hop in front, shall we? The interior of the Giulia Quadrifoglio is every bit as sporty as it is luxurious. How's this for amenities? Standard is a 14-speaker hardened Karman sound system that has 900 watts of auditory power. 900 watts, and that's just the standard system. Every single component in the interior of the Giulia is covered in either leather, Alcantara, or carbon fiber. You've got this beautiful leather dash. Now, there aren't too many options in terms of interior colors. It's basically blacks and grays and some hints of red stitching, but that's okay because even with this simple layout, because of the material choices, it looks premium. In fact, I actually prefer the Quadrifoglio's interior to that of a BMW M3. It's not quite on the level of the C63. Mercedes recently, in terms of their interiors, has been above and beyond everyone else, but this feels every bit the quality you'd expect when you're spending $77,000 on a sports sedan. One thing that a lot of auto manufacturers can't get right is the infotainment screen and its operation. It's super simple in the Alpha. There's just 3 different controls. One for menu to bring you back to the home page, one for options to bring up different settings. Instantly when I click options, it brings up Bluetooth so you can pair your phone. And then you've got this scroller here, but the layout is just super easy. It's vertically oriented, which is kind of different than a lot of others that are horizontally oriented, but we've got radio, media, phone, navigation, car, settings. Everything seems like it's really in the place you'd expect it to be. The only complaint I really have about the infotainment system is when you put the car into reverse, it has one of the smallest backup cameras I've ever seen. We've got this decently large screen, but for some reason they've only chosen to use a little less than half of it for the backup camera. Still though, the graphics are crystal clear and easy to use. Next on the list of interior features is this gorgeous steering wheel. It's the perfect size, it feels great in your hand, has excellent hand positions, has excellent creases and undulations in the wheel so that your hands feel perfect at the 9 and 3 position. This has the optional carbon fiber steering wheel that adds carbon right here. Normally it's just leather and Alcantara. Carbon is definitely the way to go. It's once again a mix of all the materials found in the rest of the cabin, and they've done a fantastic job. On it, we've got, like a Ferrari, the start-stop button. Simply put your foot on the brake. You don't need to put a key anywhere. Click the start-stop button, and it fires up that beautiful engine. Now, my favorite part is what's behind the wheel. We have gorgeous, large, and I mean really large, metal paddles that are mated to the 8-speed automatic transmission, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. With the BMW and the C63, the paddles are just a little bit too small. It seems like the Italians are really the only ones who understand that big paddles are an awesome thing, because when you turn the steering wheel, it actually feels like you can grasp the paddles no matter where you are in the turn. Not to mention, it looks super cool. Some neat features of the paddles themselves. One, the activation of the paddles is top-notch. This feels like, and I mean this in a good way, a Maserati Gran Turismo. The Maserati Gran Turismo paddle actuation, top-notch. Instead of having black paint to show the plus and the minus symbol, it's actually cut out, perhaps for weight savings. Looks nice. More on the interior, there is tons of cargo space. We've got an actually useful little cargo compartment here with 2 USB ports and an auxiliary port if you don't end up wanting to use the Bluetooth audio. You also have another USB port here and 2 conveniently placed cup holders. The actual headrests themselves are comfortable. These seats are comfortable as well. Now there's 2 seat options. You either have the standard seats, which are premium leather and Alcantara and the inserts, or you can upgrade to the Sparco carbon buckets for $2,750. I can't speak on the comfort of those. They do look cooler, but it depends on how you're going to use the Quadrifoglio. Now let's go drive this thing, shall we? Let's be honest, BMW and Mercedes have kind of cornered the market with the M3 and the C63, meaning when new competition comes along, it's exceptionally difficult for the manufacturer to succeed. I mean, why would you buy some different car when you know that the M3 and the C63 are tried and true generation after generation? All they have to do is make minor improvements over an already good model in order to stay in business and sell the car. The Giulia, however, was all new. It came out of nowhere, and Alfa Romeo absolutely killed it. The fact that this is the first sports sedan they've made in the US for over 3 decades, and that it's this good, is just staggering to me. One of the things that I love the most about it is the seating position. You sit very forward in the car. You've got fantastic visibility over the front hood. In fact, it slopes away really quickly, so it looks like you can see the road directly in front of your toes, making it very easy to place on the road. And the steering feel. they nailed the steering feel. It's the perfect mix of tight and accurate without being overly twitchy. The suspension rides over bumps really well too. Limited body roll, yet still comfortable. I'm having trouble figuring out if there's any downsides at all with the Quadrifoglio. Now the transmission. We have the brilliant ZF 8-speed automatic transmission that is connected to these lovely large metal paddles. Other cars that use the ZF 8-speed, Challenger Hellcat, Charger Hellcat, as well as the brand new 2019 Aston Martin Vantage. It's tried and true. It shifts almost as fast, if not faster, than some double clutch transmissions. Downshifts, upshifts, absolutely instantaneous. And you're not really missing anything from the double clutch gearbox that's in the BMW M3. I mean, seriously, there's no lag whatsoever. Oh, and that sound is marvelous. So how fast is the Quadrifoglio? Really fast. Get this, 0 to 60 happens in just 3.8 seconds. That's right, 3.8 seconds. But what's even more impressive than that is its capability around the track. Yes, this is a sedan, it's luxurious, you've got a crazy speaker system, leather Alcantara everywhere, it's comfortable, you could drive it every day, but it truly shines at the Nürburgring. In fact, on its first attempt, the Quadrifoglio set a lap record at the Nürburgring for sedans. 7 minutes and 39 seconds. Incredibly fast. That was with a manual-equipped Quadrifoglio. Then Porsche came along and, well, Porsche doesn't like to lose on the Nürburgring. They brought their Panamera Turbo, the brand new one, and they set a lap time of 7 minutes 38 seconds, so a second quicker. The record wasn't held for all that long. But Alfa wasn't satisfied with that. Alfa went back with a ZF 8-speed equipped Quadrifoglio, like the one I'm driving right now, and set a time of 7 minutes and 32 seconds, making it the fastest sports sedan ever to lap the Nürburgring. Now that is impressive. It also has a top speed of 191 miles an hour. That's crazy. Now what's also impressive about the Quadrifoglio, other than basically everything, is its sound. Sound is something that auto manufacturers are losing out on. They're losing that brilliant noise because of emissions restrictions. Everyone is downsizing and boosting their engines, and only some manufacturers are actually able to work around that and create a vehicle that sounds good. And the Quadrifoglio is absolutely one of those. Now the C63 with its twin-turbo V8 sounds menacing, no doubt about it. But the M3 with its turboed inline-6 doesn't. It really doesn't sound good. Whereas this car with the twin-turbocharged V6 does. I don't know if it's its Italian heritage or what, but Alfa, even in the 4-cylinder 4C, is able to create some of the best exhaust notes out there, no matter what the displacement or the configuration of the engine is. Let's roll the window down a little bit and I'll let you hear this exhaust. Those blats between shifts, my God. You hear this little hint of turbo blow-off noise and these just blats and bangs. Oh, it sounds unbelievable. The sound is absolutely one of the strong points of this car. So, I mean, it has the sound, it has the looks, it has the handling, the steering feel, the suspension setup, the comfort, the luxury. The Giulia Quadrifoglio has it all. Now, speaking of driving, what are the different driving modes that the Giulia possesses? Well, when you start the car up, it starts off in normal mode, which is, of course, normal. Then we have dynamic mode that tightens up the steering as well as the throttle response. And you can bring it all the way up to race mode, which turns traction control off, makes the car sound ridiculously good, and livens the driving experience. We also have advanced efficiency mode, where the traction control is even more intrusive if you're in a wet or a snowy environment, and it's also capable of shutting off one bank of cylinders, meaning this car runs on 3 cylinders for greater fuel efficiency. Pretty cool. The only thing I'd really improve on the Giulia is the brake feel and the size of the backup camera. Despite the large screen, the fact that they only use about half of the screen for the backup camera, they should do some reprogramming, make it a little bit easier to see. The brakes, they take a while to get used to. They're some of the touchiest brakes out there on the market. In fact, it very much reminds me of Volvo's brakes. For some reason, maybe because Volvos are extremely safe, the brakes are very, very touchy. Now they're responsive and this car slows itself down tremendously fast, but it definitely takes some getting used to and could maybe use a little bit more play in the top of the pedal to make the driving experience more comfortable. But overall, I am absolutely blown away by how this car makes me feel. I would absolutely choose this over an M3, and I honestly think I would choose it over a C63 as well, if not for anything other than to be different. This car is just as good as the competition, no doubt about that whatsoever. And especially in Southern California, where everyone and their mom and their brother has an M3 or a C63, this really makes you stand out in a good way. So with that, I absolutely have loved my time with the Giulia Quadrifoglio. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.